It is very beautiful. Many ferrets.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of that one. It's I I did it the first couple times, and then I feel like I'm just locked into it. Now
It
I just
works.
have
It's
to do
good
it
branding.
forever. Yeah, I guess my whole like channel and online presence is locked into this now. It wasn't even really planned.
Like you and Radical Reviewer. Just
Yeah,
your
yeah,
pets are the face of the operation.
yeah. Well, I mean, his dog is really good at staying still and hanging out, which is not. I can't count on Skittles for that kind of stuff. To be frank.
Just photos.
Yeah, or just like he'll have like chunks of like B-roll, right, that are just like his dog, just like chilling there, sitting perfectly still for like quite, and I'll be watching for cuts, and like it'll go like quite a while without cuts. I don't know why that always distracts me when I'm watching his videos, and I sometimes have to rewind a bit because I was watching
You're
for
just
cuts.
distracted by trying to trip up the dog. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna catch this dog out. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
well,
catch this dog being a bad dog.
it's from a place of sheer jealousy, of course, because Skittles does not stay still. She will not stay still. If you try to get her to, she'll probably bite you or something. I don't know. She's just really hyper. Loves to party. Kind of the inverse of me, so I appreciate the contrast, you know?
Because I'd been thinking about having a ferret as a pet. I used to have a ferret as a pet as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking up. Aren't they supposed to like sleep loads and loads and loads, and then when they're active, they're like really, really active?
Yes, okay, so important ferret fact right here. They sleep 18 hours a day,
Ow.
which owns. They're so cool. Also, hi Zozo in the chat. Thank you for the Skittles serpent. Yeah, they sleep all day, and some ferrets are more hyper than others. Some are, especially I think as they get older, they're a little more chill, but Skittles is absolute. What, is the Skittles cam not... Is it not on? Oh, right, sorry, I've got the soon thing. Hold on, we're started now. I can pull that off. Bam! There it is. There's the Skittles cam. I think she's... It looks like she's gone to bed. She was running around like 5 minutes ago in there, but you'll probably catch her again soon.
We used to have a turtle camp. Oh, it was a biology teacher had 2 turtles in his lab, and he a sort of like school network. When you logged into the like school homepage, the turtle cam was always there and you could see it, but they had to get rid of it because it was distracting. Everyone was just watching the turtles play in lesson instead.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, fuck that nerd shit that they're trying to teach me. I want to see what the turt's doing.
Yeah. I was very, very sad about it.
Oh man, no, that's hype. I never when I was in school never had any kind of like class pet or anything like that. It seems like they don't have the highest life expectancy as a as a type of creature, class pets, but I never had the pleasure myself. In the background here, I'm just playing a little bit of Binding of Isaac, which is... Yeah. Yeah, no sound. I was muted just for a minute there. Sort of got, Sorry, I'm I'm still having some tea and waking up and getting conscious. Yeah, I was just saying that in the background I'm just playing a little bit of Binding of Isaac.
Yeah.
Of course, you need to have a very high IQ.
Play and understand. I've heard of it, but not played it before.
of its simplicity. Because it has, I don't know, I feel like it doesn't have loads of personality. Well, that's not true. It's got a lot of personality, but it isn't like things are very simple, so that they've been able to put out like tons of content for it, you know. What are so I was just posting it in the Discord and getting it all sorted. So what are things like in London now during the lockdown and everything?
Pretty quiet. It's quite strange in that just like walking the streets and things, feel the tension, but it looks pretty much the same. Like,
right.
It's a bit quieter, and everyone's watching everyone very carefully.
I've been noticing that here as well. It's a little bit creepy. Like,
it's really weird.
Everyone's checking everyone out to make sure they don't look sickly or whatever.
Yeah, or like sort of just kind of waiting for people to get in their space and.
Yeah. No, it's weird. That key.
Lucky though, we've got a big park and also like a little kids playground very close to us, so not too crowded or anything there as well. So it's fairly easy for us to get out and.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. I'm at the point where I'm really just going out to like just to like buy food and stuff. I'll go out sometimes for like Food Not Bombs and stuff, because that's still happening here. But otherwise, God, I could go for a walk in a park, actually. It seems really nice.
It's honestly something that's really good about London. Like, they have quite a lot of big parks that are most places in London have a nice park, pretty accessible.
Yeah, I noticed that. I've just visited it like I don't know how many times have I been there. Twice, maybe 3 times. Yeah, I've noticed the presence of parks at the very least, just because of the contrast to the rest of the city. When you come across a park, it's just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I knew I remembered the color green. It's fantastic. Yeah, London's cool. Every time I've gone, it's been in the summer, and I find it to be a very poorly ventilated city. This is my big complaint. Yeah. Please take it up with Sadiq Khan at the next meeting.
Well.
Yes, thank you.
We're pretty close to City Hall. I could walk there.
Oh damn. Yeah. Do it. Go give him give him shit.
Give him what for?
Give him what for? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've had a London question kinda in the old brain that maybe you can shed some light on. So London is obviously huge and there's a lot of seats in it. Does it go like how much of Greater London like goes Tory as opposed to Labour in elections normally?
As far as I'm aware, it's very much Labour stronghold. Like,
right.
Pretty sure the like far and away majority goes to Labour.
Yeah, see, I've been under that impression. So I guess my big thing is how was Boris Johnson? How the fuck did he become the mayor?
Hmm. um, I think that people don't see the mayor as the same thing as the government overall. Like, mayors are quite different in how people imagine them, and sort of characters like Boris kind of take advantage a lot more easily than with other
Right.
kinds of elections, I think. Although now he's a prime minister. So.
Yeah. So you figure they're voting more for the person than the party, then, as opposed to a general election.
Definitely, because when he was mayor, like, I didn't even realize that he was Tory. I didn't know that much about, I wasn't super politically aware at that time, but I just knew of Boris as the London mayor. I didn't know of him as a politician specifically when he was the mayor. Yeah.
That's interesting. All right, well that's that mystery solved. It's always been like, why, how the fuck was he the mayor?
Yeah. But he became London mayor during New Labour as well, and I kind of think it says a lot about how, like, New Labour sort of squeezed and crushed the differences between the Tory party and the Labour Party to the point where people didn't really necessarily think there was that much of a difference.
Yeah. God.
And also he was following up from Ken Livingstone, who people would have probably seen as like throwback to nasty Labour Day.
Not nasty Labour.
Embarrassing. So I guess people probably would have at the time thought of Boris Johnson as like somebody interesting and business forward.
Ah, we love a business forward mayor.
Yeah.
We stand a business forward mayor. Is that a phrase, nasty Labour, to refer to like the pre-New Labour days?
No, I just made that up on the spot.
Okay.
I think that's how they think of it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's looking like we are back to something a little closer. Maybe not quite New Labour, but something a lot more New Labour friendly under the current leadership.
I'm definitely holding my breath, but I don't know how long I can hold it for.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been some not great things already. Obviously, he's got the full backing and support of all of the absolute worst elements of the Labour Party. So, if they end up with more sway, very surprising. But
Yeah. Well, for me, so I had him figured for a Blairite from day one, but I was like, all right. So for me, the big question is going to be how much of like the Corbyn era stuff is he going to keep around to not piss off that side of the party? Because obviously,
also because their manifesto is just so good.
Yeah, and people didn't fucking vote for them, but people loved it. Like every poll indicated incredible amounts of popularity. This is a total sidetrack, but I've always been fascinated by how uncurious people are about the sort of the gaps between like policy popularity and like who people vote for.
Yeah.
Like that, anyone who like gives a shit about democracy should be like a huge sort of siren for them, but whatever. Yes. So I was like, all right, well, this was very popular manifesto, and I mean, Corbyn like doubled the fucking membership of the party, so it's like, how far is he going to go to cater to those people, even if he is indeed a Blairite? But for me, his cabinet choices were kind of like, I read his cabinet his picks as sort of a statement of intent that the amount that he was going to cater to the left of the party was zero.
Yeah.
Because just the worst fucking shit, total shitters from the party.
I was happy to see that Rebecca Long Bailey was still in that. It would have been like, she obviously could have done sort of a more similar role to what she had before, because it seemed like she was doing a really good job. She was behind like the sort of Green New Deal kind of plans that they had, like, or the sort of Green Industrial Revolution, for the UK reference. But
it was, I mean, yeah, she's one of the only picks who wasn't like bad. God, she ran a really bad leadership campaign.
I know, it was so, honestly, so disappointing, because like everything I see from policy wise is so good, and I know that like my sort of like kind of pass fail test of like politicians is whether they're talking in terms of solving problems rather than just mitigating problems.
Yes, absolutely.
So, like, everything that Keir Starmer says is like, it's like, we're going to improve this, we're going to improve this, we're going to push for this, and it's like, no, you don't have to actually. Like, if you're planning to be in charge, you're hoping to be in charge, then you should be talking about what you're actually going to do and fix. Like I've never seen a politician before Jeremy Corbyn say that homeless is not necessary.
Yeah.
Like, talk about it like a solvable problem. And Rebecca Long Bailey was doing well, but her campaign was kind of shit, which is really sad.
Yeah. Zozo in the chat says Corbyn said he would take a job. He did not give him a job. No, Starmer. I mean, I'm a little surprised he even gave Long Bailey a job. I feel like it's to do like the bare minimum to keep the illusion that he's not like fully Labour right, but he fucking is.
Yeah.
Like,
he wanted to be seen as a coalition builder, right? Like the unity candidate, which does mean offering a hand both ways to some extent.
Which is funny because after the report leaked full of like just horrible shit from a lot of people in the Labour Party, he's just like, we're gonna do an investigation into who leaked this. Like, hell yeah, that's a dope coalition, bro.
My concern is finding the whistleblower, not the first thing that you'd be interested in doing is proving that you don't want in the Labour Party people who are campaigning for you to lose.
Yeah.
Under any circumstances. Like, it's just unreal.
Yeah, and again, I was like, as far as I'm concerned, Keir is like with those guys. So like, again, it was a chance for him to maybe show that he was gonna like give even the smallest olive branch, and he was just like, fuck no, fuck you. So I'm not really interested in him. Also, yeah, the whole aspirational socialism thing. That was who was that for? I don't know.
It's cringy. It's kind of just like, there's no point in trying to give socialism a makeover like over and over and over again. If you just say the policies, people want the policy.
Yeah, people like the policies. What is aspirational socialism? Socialism with entrepreneur characteristics? Like, what do you...
That's exactly what it was. And if you, like, if you went to her, like, her page describing her campaign, like, it was, like, kind of waffle that was not talking about what she wanted to actually do, and it was all about sort of attitude.
Yeah.
Posing against forces, but there was nothing really tangible, which was so frustrating because that's what is good about like actual politics, that it's extreme.
I feel like she was doing some arithmetic in her head because she was like, okay, I want to try to figure out what people didn't like about Corbyn and his politics and stuff. and try to sort of keep the essence of it while sort of rebranding some of the core of it, I guess. I feel like that's what she was tasked with. But it just kind of came off as her being like scared of her own policies. Like she didn't really want to talk about them too much. It's like people liked the policies. The problem was that everyone had been told for years and years that Corbyn's like literally a terrorist, so they kind of had beef with him, but policies were good.
And just like when there's a huge gap between what people say they want and what they're voting for, that's propaganda. Is that gap? It's pretty easy to identify.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same in the U.S. Like Medicare for All polls amazingly, but Bernie didn't win. So like that's his flagship policy that Biden explicitly said he would veto. So like, what's that about? Because that's one of like healthcare is one of like the biggest contemporary issues in American politics, and like people are fairly united actually behind Medicare for All, despite all the propaganda about how it'll be horrible and there'll be death panels or whatever, and you'll have to wait 1,000 years to get penicillin and you'll die.
It's honestly so real seeing that debate from outside of the US, like as a country with socialized healthcare.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because it's like people sort of arguing against it. They'll basically be like, no, it's not as good as they say it is, and I'm constantly just being like, no, it totally is, I promise. It's they don't like sneak a bill in or something, or like fuck with you in some way. You just go and you get what you need. It's
and they can only compare to the idea of like some elite sort of luxurious private healthcare. Like I don't like nobody cares what color the room that they're being seen in. Like they want their healthcare. They want to have their lives saved and prolonged.
Yeah, people love not dying. They're crazy about it. Absolutely. It's like water. They're straight up addicted. Oh, it's a whole thing. Addicted. Yeah, maybe that's what they're worried about, is people getting addicted to having access to medicine.
Worry about that moral hazard.
Yeah, the moral hazard. Yeah, I don't know.
I've been so frustrated seeing the debates between like Trump is the worst prime minister ever. You have to vote for Biden to get him out, even though he's probably a rapist. He's probably going to lose. He's just one of the worst people offered up by the Democrat Party, even.
Yeah, he and Obama helped build the camps. He's probably not gonna close them. I mean, everything people are mad about Trump doing, it's like, is Biden gonna do anything about it though? Like,
yeah, I just feel like instead of any single person arguing for people to vote for Biden, especially from a leftist perspective, they're skipping way too far ahead, because it's not even the election that they need to be. We will only vote for a Democratic candidate if they are offering Medicare for all.
Yeah.
Basically, like one thing.
I think now is the. What the fuck did I do here?
Instead of the Democratic Party holding voters hostage, it's Trump or, us or Trump. Yeah. Everyone needs to be holding them hostage, saying it's healthcare or Trump.
I'm really excited that there's a fairly large contingent of people who are saying, no, we won't fucking vote for him. Give us something to fucking vote for. I feel like a lot of people have been really spooked at the suggestion of that, but it's like, nah, hold on. I've got a giant book and it just says leverage on the cover. I need you to just read it. And I think a lot of people on the left are yeah. A lot of people on the left are used to up until very recently, we've been so small that there's practically been no leverage. But like,
Absolutely.
actually, the past like 5 years, even past 10 years, like we are, it's not 2004 anymore. Like the left is
Yeah.
pretty, at least like the electoral supporting left is quite big. Like we are plenty big enough that if we say in quite a united voice that no, we're not going to vote for you unless you give us this, then like they at least have to think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Obviously, like, the fact that Joe Biden has credible sexual assault allegations against him right now, it's extremely legitimate for the Democratic Party to say, like, to force him to step down and just pick a candidate, or whatever kind of process they're gonna do. But there's no reason to skip to the end and assume. I'm just kind of interested in how perfectly cleanly people were split between between so cynical that the Democrats would not hold any process for Tara Reid and that they would just run Biden despite the allegation. And so optimistic that they just kind of didn't believe it would be true, so they were kind of in the position of thinking that they needed to vote for Biden either way.
Yeah. No, that is a good point.
It's interesting seeing those same people kind of change their tune now that more people are taking, like, journalists pushing it harder, more people are listening.
Yeah. Dr. Bruce says if Biden steps down, they'll just pick Clinton. Fucking don't even joke about this. The media keeps just like sticking cheeky little stories in there, just like Clinton ready to go. Like,
Yeah.
what are you like trying to like measure the response to this? Like that's the only explanation I can think of.
It's surreal to imagine, but in the UK, like, we've had so many unelected prime ministers in the last couple of decades.
That's true.
Like, Gordon Brown, Theresa May,
Yeah.
Boris Johnson. Like, yeah.
God, yeah. I mean, it's certainly not anything I would ever like put past the U.S. No, it's less than ideal. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking that obviously it's looking right now. We'll see. I'm not fully convinced that the DNC even fucking cares that much about winning, because they seem to be happy to just kind of sit on Biden at this point.
I mean, after what we've seen here, like, who the fuck knows, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, I don't know. I'm definitely of the view that their sort of concern A was get rid of Sanders, and then concern B is beating Trump. It's like, all right, well, if the guy who beat Sanders doesn't beat Trump, that's a secondary concern, because it is important to remember that a lot of the major people in the Democratic Party are benefiting from Trump's tax cuts. Like,
yeah.
it's not the end of the fucking world to them if Trump gets 4 more years, whatever they might say.
Embarrassing.
What was that?
Just embarrassing.
Embarrassing. Yeah, it's... Well, here's the problem, obviously, when you've got class society and then both of your two parties are run by the same class, you're gonna be in a little bit of a pickle there. As everyone is sort of contending with now. But I think if they do decide to replace Biden or whatever they decide to do, if they realize that Trump will absolutely fucking own Joe Biden 100 ways to Sunday, as much as I do on some fucked up level want to see those debates, but if they do come to terms with that, I think they should pull a wild one. I think they should just put someone totally unknown in.
Julian Castro.
Yes. So
That's pretty good.
so many. I mean, so many people ran in the primary that you could pull a lot of people out of that primary, and I still wouldn't know their fucking names. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see Biden saying like that his aim in running is just to beat Trump and then make space for the Pete Buttigieg's to run the show?
yeah, it's like what Pete Buttigieg ran. You should have endorsed him, you prick. I mean, not that I particularly prefer fucking CIA Pete, but like, it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
It does feel like he's laying the groundwork for the idea that he's gonna like get elected and then step down and put his VP in the seat or something. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's like specific quotes from him saying it, but I was seeing things suggesting that he'd signaled the donors. That was
yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm just wait. Has he announced a VP pick yet? He hasn't, has he?
No, not that I've seen.
I feel like there's a lot of attention being put on that pick, because I mean, there's a very real chance that that person is going to be who the actual president is if he wins.
Yes.
Like, I'm just thinking about who he could pick that would actually give him a shot of beating Trump. Like, maybe, like, he's not going to pick Bernie. Although that would probably be his best bet at actually like getting. There was a recent poll that showed that I forget how many. It was more than 50%. It was maybe 51 or 54. Those are the two numbers in my brain for some reason. Percent of Bernie Sanders supporters said they would not vote for Joe Biden, which is hype. That is leverage.
Whoa,
that's a fuck ton of people.
Wow.
No, we love to see it.
That's actually astonishing.
I know. I was thinking like on a good day, a third, but like more than half, beautiful. So it's like if he actually,
I mean, like these people like people tout figures like that to be like, see, Sanders supporters don't really care about any of the important issues. Don't really care. Like, it's just privileged Marxist bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exciting. That is leverage.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and like that, Biden's campaign will be looking at that.
Absolutely.
If we like,
not showing yet though.
It's not showing yet. Well, here's my thing: is again, like, I mean, he is in the pocket of fucking like private healthcare companies in a big way. So it's like, will he like willingly, knowingly throw this thing? Because he's still polling like worse than Trump to some degree, and obviously polls vary. Sometimes he's doing better, but it's never by much. So like, it's gonna be fucking neck and neck.
Yeah.
So when you've got a fairly big chunk of like the electorate, and these are people from like age demographics that are, these people are Democrat voters if they vote at all. The saying, no, we're not going to do it. Like, if he doesn't, honestly, by November, if he doesn't go for Medicare for all, I'm 100% convinced that he has no intention of winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll replace him. Maybe they'll be like, okay, maybe enough of our base actually cares about sexual assault that this is going to be a problem. Because obviously it's not a problem for a lot of the Republican base, but like Democrats, they get a lot of young people, a lot of women. It's not going to go great with the base. They have a notoriously anti-sex crime demographic.
Especially when Trump's, running those ads, calling out the hypocrisy. And it's gross to see Trump doing it.
It's so gross.
But it's not incorrect, so...
Well, that's the thing. And also, Trump is, obviously he's a disgusting piece of shit. He also is a sex criminal, but he doesn't have, like, decades of footage of him, like, weirdly holding and sniffing women. So it's like, you can logically know something, but it's much more visceral to, like, see somebody acting that way. And, like, he can show us Biden acting that way all fucking day long. And...
Yeah.
I mean, if the fucking Tories can control the narrative about anti-Semitism and racism, then fucking Trump can control the narrative about sexual assault. Like, that is completely possible.
Yeah.
November's gonna rule. That's my advice to people is to I would describe it as highly selective. Be highly selectively black-pilled. Don't fall into political apathy, but when you've sort of, when you've done what you can do, if the Dems are genuinely just gonna, like, plummet headlong into oblivion, let yourself enjoy it. Because Biden's gonna get absolutely owned, and it's gonna be funny, and you gotta let yourself laugh when it's funny, because it's not gonna get any better, so... What's Bernie even been doing this whole time now? Because he suspended his campaign. Has he said anything about the allegations against Joe? I know he endorsed him, obviously. I haven't
seen him say any.
Yeah, he's kind of towing the "we have to beat Trump no matter what" line, and it's like, all right.
Yeah. I wonder if that'll change, because I feel like the allegations are just starting to pick up steam with journalists now. Like, Biden has been forced to go on TV and confront the allegations.
Oh my god,
which I feel like that's over for him now, surely. If he's had to go on TV and say it.
Yeah, it's already so bad. Did you see that clip that was going around the other day, where I don't remember what network it was on, but there was a woman interviewing him, and she was like, maybe we'll just do a search for Tara Reid's name in like this or that archive. Could we just do that? And he was just, like, silent for, like, 30 full seconds and was just like, well, how do you... What do you... A search? What? You just, like...
I didn't see that.
It was really bad.
I'd seen that he'd said that he doesn't want them to do that, not because it would turn anything up, but because there would be other things in there that would be fodder. There would be fodder for journalists to... fish at him.
What is he?
You got your stuff, and it's like, well, there's your whole career. People have, I think as someone running for president, you should probably be able to handle a bit of fodder from journalists.
Yeah, if you did not do anything to Tara Reid, then, like, I mean, what could be worse in there? Like,
dozens and dozens of sexual harassment claims, I'm very sure.
Yeah, exactly.
100% certain.
Oh my god, he's such a fucking nasty old man. It's the fucking worst.
There's so much footage of him literally just sexually harassing people, and then you get people on Twitter being like, no, they just said it made them feel uncomfortable. They didn't say it was sexual harassment. I'm like, what do you think that means?
Oh god, people are just reaching so hard to be able to defend Biden. It's bad. I saw somebody talking about, or somebody was tweeting, like, I don't care if he did do it, I'll still vote for him. It's like, all right. I feel like that is when somebody is bending over backwards to, like, make excuses and be like, oh no, it's not technically rape, it's sexual assault and stuff like that. I feel like what they're really saying is, I don't care, I'm still gonna vote for him.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I've seen so many people do this exactly the same thing, or be like, oh, it's bad, but Trump is worse.
Yeah.
He's got loads of people. It's just unreal. And I'm seeing it from leftists as well. I'm seeing it from, especially from liberals. And
yeah.
Like people who've made a career on standing up to this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's been the worst.
Unreal.
Yeah, that's been the worst. Not the two most shameful things have been, it's been people who who have made a career about like standing up to sexual assault, or people in powerful positions and stuff getting away with it, them kind of like compromising their principles. And the other big one for me has been people who I know are like actually socialists, not comprehending the idea of leverage at all in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. And like I don't necessarily blame them because I understand that it's extremely high stakes.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really just it's yeah, not understanding where their power is, skipping straight to the conclusion, straight to the trolley problem, you know.
Yeah.
It's like quite normal and legitimate to insist that somebody step down from their position of power when they've sexually assaulted someone. Like
yeah, like the primary is still happening. Like
yeah, it's like if you don't have the power to do that, you should, and maybe we should. Like there was just such a long stretch of time where I just felt crazy. Like why is literally nobody? Why am I seeing no one saying Joe Biden needs to drop out? Because again, like I was saying, like there was just this clean, like pure divide between people who were cynical enough about the Democrats already that they didn't think that there was any point in them trying, and people who were just like, well, it's can't be true, and this is any propaganda or whatever, or like
yeah,
Bernie Trump coalition.
Bernie Trump coalition, yeah. Oh my God, liberals in American liberals have really Trump derangement syndrome is real. All right, it's it's so bad. Like, oh, you're criticizing Biden, basically a Trump supporter. It's like, yes, the two kinds of people: Trump supporters and people who just like are blindly uncritical of the Democratic Party.
People are replying to me saying Joe Biden needs to drop out with a description of a sex crime done by Trump, and I'm like, hey, you deserve a president who's not a rapist.
Yeah. You can expect that much. If you're gonna, if you're still accepting the rule of the capitalist class, you can at least demand that they don't like do sex crimes to people while they're like ruling us. That's I don't think that's too big of an ask myself. But on to British matters.
Yeah.
In stark contrast to the United States, a very optimistic future for the electoral politics of the United Kingdom. Dr. Rue says, imagine still living in 2016. Yeah, time stopped for a lot of people in 2016, unfortunately. And here in the UK, the people whose brains stopped in kind of the late 90s are now, of course, in control of the opposition. And they're all sort of standing around patting each other on the back saying, oh, we're so electable now, even though Labour's actually dropping in the polls still.
Yes! I was saying I am so looking forward to, because it'll happen, I am so looking forward to journalists turning around and being like, oh, this is a consequence of coronavirus. This would happen under any Labour leader, because obviously the incumbent has an advantage during a crisis. And I'm like, remember Brexit? do you remember Brexit?
Yeah. We're gonna be actually Brexited by the end of the year, right? Supposedly.
Yeah. I guess. What does that mean?
Like, we're still... I think we are still functionally in the EU, even though we've officially exited, and we're meant to.
There's been some like superficial changes.
Yeah, what they've said is that there'd be a 1-year period ending like December of this year of actually exiting.
Right.
I have no idea if they're going to delay it because of coronavirus or if they're just going to be like, no, we're good to go. But I feel like the actual consequences of Brexit aren't even beginning to happen yet.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. I want to get this item. Boop. And so when the next election does happen, I feel like we'll probably have only just for a couple of years been actually sort of experiencing the consequences of Brexit.
Yeah.
So, which I'm gonna go ahead as the seasoned political analyst that I am, of course, and go ahead and say it's not gonna be awesome. It's not gonna be super great. Especially, of course, with the Tory party being at the forefront of it.
Yeah.
So
Disaster.
Yeah, a little bit of disaster capitalism. It's going to be one of those things where Labour should be in a quite an advantageous position, and they're still definitely. I'm saying this on record, on recording right now, definitely going to lose. Because
if they didn't offer like genuinely like socialist policies, then yeah, like
yeah,
because you know the 2008 financial crash was a condemnation of neoliberalism, but they refused to reckon with it, and so the Tories, who are the same but worse, managed to win by making it look like Labour's reckless fault. And also some people just really, really want racism.
Yeah, I mean, some people...
They think it's worth it.
Yeah, some people just think racism is cool as shit. But I think it's fair to say that they're not in... I think it's fair to say they're not in the majority. I think a lot of people genuinely sort of just believe like the bullshit narratives about like Labour is fiscally irresponsible and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so basically the narrative is gonna develop around Starmer as either a Blairite, I think, or they're just gonna like keep saying he's a socialist because that's how they've been talking about Labour. He's gonna be a crazy commie.
Well, there's definitely stuff like that coming out from the right-wing papers already.
Yeah. To be fair, he said that he was gonna keep a lot from Corbyn's manifesto. I don't think he is, but at this stage, he's trying to keep all those left-wing voters. So he's saying I'm totally still gonna do that.
I do think that Corbyn's there's no going back to what it was before for the Labour Party. I don't think it's going to be that easy for them.
If he tries, he's gonna fucking like crash and burn horrendously, and he might try. Is what I'm saying. He might try to go back. So yeah, he's either gonna try to go back, in which case he's gonna get owned, and Boris Johnson's just gonna be like, 2008 crash, Blairite, or he's gonna keep enough token socialist policies that the media will attack him as a communist, but people on the left will see that he's disingenuous and they won't back him the way they backed Corbyn. And I feel like either way, he's not in a good position. So yeah, I'm extremely confident that he's going to lose the next general election, which isn't great, because I'm sure he'd still be better than the Tories. It's a low bar.
Pretty low. But I mean, like, so far at least, he hasn't. He has. He is still claiming on a lot of the things that were in the manifesto, which was like, it was so good. So some of those things got through.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I guess just on sort of the things I was talking about earlier, like his cabinet picks and his response to the leaks. He could literally just have the same manifesto that Corbyn ran on, and I'd be like, I don't think he's gonna do it. I don't fucking believe him.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't buy it at all. Just he
It's
needs
like
to
his-
give people a reason to believe him, I guess.
Yeah, it's like his primary motivation right now is like prove that he is like pragmatic and real and like not actionless. And did you see the thing he'd said about Cashman?
Oh yeah. He was like, oh,
I
I.
wanted to vomit. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
Well,
From a Labour leader, just to say this is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan, and whilst there are like fucking Nazis walking,
it's super
like,
gross. I
pogroms against Muslims, like.
Yeah, I feel like his time as leader is going to be defined by refusing to ever take a hard position on anything because he doesn't want to be divisive to the libs or whatever.
Yeah, like that is what, or even to the Tories. Like,
Yeah, or to the Tories.
That is what it looks like right now. I hope it changes, but I just can only after so long.
I think that the whole reaching across the aisle strategy, Labour isn't in a good position to do it because, helped by Starmer and many of his friends, we've had 5 years of like narratives of Labour being like these ridiculous extremists and stuff. So like, I don't think trying to reach out to like Tory voters or whatever is going to get you anywhere at this point. But I think he's going to try. I
think the left has, like, right now, the left has actually an incredible amount of leverage because it's just necessary. Like, right-wing strategies for dealing with this crisis aren't work.
Yeah.
Like, left-wing policies are necessary right now.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Even Tories are seeing that because they're employing more left-wing strategy than would have been thought possible from a conservative government.
That's true, and obviously they're gonna nuke us with austerity for making them show a little bit of humanity. It makes them very angry when you do that, but they are doing it because, like, yeah, as you say, like the capitalist response to a crisis simply does not work.
Yeah. Yeah, so I
What's that? You cut out there.
there's someone knocking downstairs.
Okay.
So I do think like that they are in a position to make demands and get leverage and seen demanding what will actually help people. But
Yeah.
the kind of demands that they're focusing on right now are just nothing. Like Keir Starmer was like so proud of having got the government to agree to tell them what their exit strategy is going to be.
Yeah, Christ.
I'm just like, can we focus on right now, please?
He's so... he's posting cringe. He's gonna lose subscriber.
It's cringe.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is practically encouraging them to like end the lockdown before they, yeah, like, practically encouraging them to end it early by pressuring them to.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Zozo says Tories cutting off the Blairites to the left will be funny if nothing else. They could even if it's only superficially. Like, people have been talking about the possibility of Trump doing something like that to Biden, and it's like, again, even if he's lying, or even if it's like the kind of socialism that's only for certain sorts of people, kind of thing, it's like. Yeah, he could totally do it. Or he could just say he'll do it, and it'll work.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he can just say, he can like just ponder aloud. Maybe we could, because he did this before in the election. Maybe we could do like for everyone. But he's obviously not surrounded by the kind of people who would let him actually do anything.
No, of course not. A lot of people. I'm always complaining about this, but a lot of people have forgotten like the number one rule of existing on the planet Earth, which is to assume politicians are lying to you until proven otherwise. So a lot of people will just like, he'll say something, they'll be like, oh, he's going to do this. It's like, that's not how politics works.
Yeah. I was very, like, when, in response to the coronavirus, obviously, like, so much about the Tory response has been absolute shite.
Yeah.
But also, like, they are being forced into a position of more left-wing policies, and I'm like, I'm so excited just know, like, the Labour Party absolutely fucked if they don't think less at this.
Yeah, and Starmer represents a side of the party that's, like I said, really stuck in the 90s and stuck in this idea that we have to always be in the center of everything, right? We got to Lib Dem this shit, because Lib Dems, you know, obviously they've been going from victory to victory, as we've seen. We got to do that.
Oh god, your video about the truck party, my god.
I know. I wanna. At some point, I want to do like a reprisal of it, because they're gone now.
Such an embarrassing piece of history.
I know. I might give Starmer a little more time to be a cringe centrist, and then I'll do the state of centrism 2, and I'll tie the legacy of Change UK to Starmer's surely incredibly successful centrist politics. I do like that all the people all like the Labour splitters all lost their seats.
Yes.
Like it's also what's so frustrating.
I like it very much.
Yeah, it rules. The fucking clowns. But it's also what's so frustrating about everyone being like, finally, Starmer, who's electable. It's like nobody with his politics has done well like since the 90s.
Yes.
It is
Seriously.
2020, folks. Please.
And the Labour Party under Corbyn became the biggest political party in Europe.
Yeah.
Like, he was popular. He was also unpopular with people who think they're very important.
Yeah, he was divisive, but like that's a good thing. I've always said in class society, being divisive is good. If there isn't a large chunk of the population that hates you, then you're doing something wrong. Because
working class politics actually benefits working class people is divisive.
Yeah.
Not really a way around it.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's. I maintain that John McDonnell should have ran and just like turned up to every debate with a gun.
I think Bernie's been successful where Corbyn wasn't. People and I do think it's in large part because of British, but in being recognised by people who consider themselves apolitical, who maybe even like as Republicans, being recognised as someone who is speaking in their interest.
Yeah.
Where I don't think Corbyn was ever allowed to do that as much.
Yeah, I think you're right. I also think even some like smaller things like being, I would say, more he pushed back more forcefully, I think, on a lot of like disingenuous media narratives about him and stuff. Whereas I think, because he had already kind of been branded like a shouty old man, so he didn't really give a fuck. You know, he just did it. I feel like Corbyn was really bent on trying to maintain this like nicer, kinder politics kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020, obviously, but he would have profited from being ruthless, clearly.
Yeah, I think that I think that the media apparatus in this country is such that I'm not sure if there's anything he really could have done to make things better in terms of like the way that he was sort of misportrayed. But yeah, I do think Bernie handled that side of things a bit better.
Yeah, I think as well, like, it's one of the places where the incredibly long, undemocratic primary system, like election season in the US, benefited Bernie because it just meant he had lots of time to be seen and get his voice out there.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Corbyn, like, in the 2017 election, his popularity was, like, going up and up and up. And because they held it as, like, a snap election, which is kind of wild that they can even do that.
Yeah.
They cut it off just before they've won, really. Like, honestly, if it had been, like, a couple of weeks later, there's a significant chance that they could have won.
Yeah, and
or if they didn't have people in Labour HQ campaigning against them.
Precisely, yeah. They worked out that there was so many like razor's edge marginal seats, so they worked out like 2,200 votes in marginal seats or something would have been the difference between them winning and losing. It's like that is easily enough to be accounted for by like campaign staffers transferring money out of marginals
and they won so heavily in loads of the places where they did win.
Yeah, they had 40% of the vote. Like they had the percent of the vote that the Tories have got in 2019, where they won like a thick fucking majority. Like it was sort of a case of first past the post, like making things worse than they had to be. But it's simply, as far as I'm concerned, it's beyond any doubt that like the sort of right wing saboteurs from within the party completely threw that election.
Yeah.
And
it's so. I'm just remembering watching it on watching the coverage at the time, like having the results called out. Every single Labour MP who the BBC had on was like talking like, of course nobody thinks of Corbyn as a prime minister.
Yeah,
like,
I remember that shit. Like they should have fucking expelled those pricks immediately. What are you doing?
It was surreal. Like it was so unreal. How I was just like, how and why would you do this? They only got one person, I think it was Chakraborty, who supported Corbyn after it started looking like Labour were going to do really well, compared to what they expected, and she just got like called out of a random meeting elsewhere. They like dragged her in. It was just so surreal that they could just exclusively pick out people who wanted their own party to lose or expected their own party to lose.
Yeah. No, it's wild how many people within Labour are just in it to be like shitty, lukewarm career politicians. Like these people have no fucking values or like politics that they care about. Yeah, my big thing is that I'll never vote for a Blairite, no matter what. I didn't vote for Ed Miliband, and I will not vote for Keir Starmer unless he shows some real fucking concessions. But Miliband was really bending towards the right and being like, we're gonna be the hot new Labour that cuts benefits and stops immigration and stuff. It's like, I'm not fucking voting for you.
That was a bad time. Like, yeah, Miliband seems to like have been just sort of surrounded by people worse than himself, is how it appears. That like he's had a bit more space to express himself as a more left-wing person now, but either way, it was absolutely horrible what Labour was offering at that point in time.
Yeah, like
not worth voting for.
Yeah, like I think that Miliband is considered to be somebody on the Labour left for a lot of people, even though I don't really. But yeah, he was very much surrounded by like proper fucking Blairites. People like fucking Rachel Reeves, who's in Starmer's cabinet. She infamously promised that Labour would be harder on benefit claimants than the Tories when she was working for Miliband, when she was in his cabinet. Yeah, she's just a genuinely shit person. And then obviously she made that tweet like praising what's her name, Nancy Astor, I think. the known like Nazi sympathizer.
What the fuck? I haven't heard about that.
Oh yeah. It was yeah, because she's like the first female MP, even though she was literally a Nazi sympathizer.
My.
So a lot of right wing people, like fucking Theresa May, did it too. They're like, oh yeah, this is feminism.
Yeah, I saw it was Theresa May. Okay.
Yeah. Horrible. Yeah, Rachel Reeves did it too. And
meanwhile, it's perfectly acceptable for people in Labour right now to be calling for Diane Abbott to have the whip, first black female MP to have the whip removed for being in a conference call with 600 people, 2 of whom had been expelled from the party.
Yeah,
and were in the audience.
Ridiculous. Again, this is in the wake of these leaks, where no suspensions off the back of that, really. But Diane Abbott, no, she's got to go. No, it's transparent horseshit, and also the really important thing is any pretense of like caring about racism that ever came from the Labour right was a fucking lie. They don't care.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like just as a person who knows anything, has bothered to like think all about racism. You did it to joke for the way that racism was discussed and the way that. The Labour Party did Prevent, they did the Iraq fucking war, they did intense scrutiny of like black and brown bodies and Muslims and I've got like a traveller background, like my dad's mum Romy Gypsy, so I'm quite invested in what happens to the traveller community, and they face discrimination that makes them homeless and dead and in prison at every single level, in every single place in the country, whether it's a Labour council or a Tory council. And
did Tony Blair do fuck all about that?
It's a little better than the Tories.
Yeah.
But in ways that entrenched, that absolutely disempowered travellers. So it was kind of like giving with one hand, taking with the other.
Well, that's kind of my big thing with the Blairite sort of like centrist-y brand of politics is they are profoundly disempowering and sort of like neutering to any liberatory movement, be it like labor organizing or like marginalized ethnicities, anything like that. Like they are just a vacuum that destroys like people's hope in a really unique way. And like this is kind of also my thing with like Biden. It's like there are ways in which he will be more damaging, and there are ways in which Blair was more damaging than David Cameron was. It's a fascinating thing. Tories really bolster and radicalize in a way that Blair was profoundly good at just like destroying everyone's hopes and dreams, you know?
Yeah. Even just like a Labour leader who takes the whole country to war over a lie.
Yeah.
Just that's unending damage to the left if people see Labour at all as representative.
No, it's left. Yeah, it's so huge. There's I'm gonna not this next video, but the video after, which is gonna be specifically about Labour. I'm gonna read a bit of a book by I think he's Manchester. I think he's a Mancunian poet. But he writes a bit in the book about growing up in like this like rough, shitty working class, or not post working class, I suppose, neighborhood in like the 80s, and then sort of seeing what Blair did to it. And the word that he uses to describe kind of the post Blair feeling in those communities is humiliation. Like people are fucking like embarrassed that they were duped into like really going out and supporting something that just like destroyed their community, pulled them into a fucking horrible war they don't want. Like it has this massive depoliticizing effect because you fight for something and win and then it fucking sucks. Like that hurts.
Like I've told you this before, but my MP is Neil Coyle.
Yeah.
Who I fucking despise.
Mm-hmm.
He sucks. He is absolutely like the go-to Labour MP who hates Labour. Hates Corbyn, hits on constituents, believe in something. Yeah, I hate him. I'm definitely never gonna vote for him again.
Nah, fuck that. Well, see, here's the thing. Why the fuck be in the Labour Party? Other than like the only explanation that I can think of is controlled opposition. Like otherwise, why not?
But they just absolutely bought what Blair sold them. So they saw it, the third way politics.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know that there is an alternative. I think what happens is liberals, the leftists, like it's the Angry Jack effect, like Ian Danskin's videos.
Yeah.
They see themselves as the good guys. And so when they see leftists proposing, better stuff,
yeah,
and being angry at them, they see it as fake.
Mm-hmm.
They think that because they think they're already the good guys, they're fighting the bad guys. These people, they assume that they are already trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And that the other guys are just being impractical and impatient and like pissing in from outside the tent.
So really the same thing Biden supporters are doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or they see them as like being fake and trying to make promises that they would never do or could never do.
Yeah.
I do think they don't understand. They don't understand politics. They don't understand Marxism.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And they just assume that somebody who claims to know better than them is wrong, naive, or like cynically lying.
So they've really just fundamentally sort of drank the Kool-Aid about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are complacent. They are narcissistic. They are like primarily white male, middle class, certain age. Like
they just suck.
They just suck. They just suck. It's like it's a similar thing to like the Tories is this endless cycle of people coming in with this like sort of so excited to just make all these cuts and everyone's going to see it's going to work so much better. Everything's going to be easier and smoother. And obviously they have vested interests as well, but they some of them believe that their vested interests are also better.
Yeah. I mean, the way I tend to look at it, it's people's interests don't just like make them be evil, but it makes it very easy for them to maintain a cognitive dissonance. No matter how many times cutting everything doesn't make shit better, if it's in your interest to do it, you'll be sure this is the time though. This time.
Yeah. And then they look back after years of devastation and they go, like, oops, what happened?
Yeah.
Like David Cameron sent a letter to his own council in Whitney in Oxford, saying, in his own constituency, saying he was disappointed in them for cutting Sure Start and old people's resources and libraries.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
and they replied being like, they're a Conservative council, just saying, well, we've halved our budgets. He just assumed that they had this endless excess, this endless surplus that they could just call on, sell some more assets, and they don't, they're so naive. It's just such a bizarre, horrible, constant combination of naivety and cynicism and then as soon as they look back and they realize that they've made a horrible mistake and killed hundreds of thousands of people, like Jeremy Hunt now, who
Yeah.
said he regrets, the cuts and things that were made. They get replaced by someone who believes the same thing that they started out believing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fall into the trap of mistakenly thinking that a lot of these people are like these evil masterminds, but like, no, these are dipshit rich kids who've like never been told that they're wrong before in their shitty little lives. So they all just roll up like, yeah, you're all fucking stupid peasants. I know how to sort this out.
Go straight from Oxford into like political internship, graduate schemes.
Yeah.
Like that was Cameron and Osborne.
Yeah, it's just shitty rich boys.
Absolutely.
They probably wouldn't even know how to cook themselves dinner if you put them in a kitchen. They don't know how to do anything. Like but they're positive that they're the best. Like that's the sort of people who run the country. It sucks.
Yeah. It truly does.
Yeah.
Like Jess Phillips. I remember her liking David Baddiel's comment, being like, "I don't even know what neoliberalism is." Like Jess Phillips, an MP, you should know what neoliberalism is.
Yeah, you should know what words mean, you fucker.
It's on Wikipedia. Just go look.
Just Google it, you boomer. Google it.
Please.
Oh, fucking Jess Phillips. The worst. So, we should probably talk a bit about what I promised people we would talk about, which is tenancy stuff.
Yes.
But this does directly segue from talking about the Tories. What's it like being a tenant in London these days?
Expensive.
Yeah?
Very expensive. I'm very fortunate in that my place is one of it's the cheapest place for what it is that I've lived in London. But London is expensive. I live in a borough that's going through. So I'm in Southwark, and it's experiencing lots of lovely gentrification. At the
Right.
minute. Masses of people's homes being taken down and shuffled off elsewhere. Not even inside London. I'm seeing the stats of where people are moving after they're getting on, and they're just going out of London. They can't afford to stay.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who've just been pushed out. It's not to the point London is at all, but I got pushed out of Manchester just because I couldn't fucking afford to live there. So I'm in Liverpool now because it's just a bit cheaper.
Right.
I got pushed between like two very cheap areas, and then those ones started just like I couldn't afford to stay there anymore, so I had to fucking leave because it's going through, I think, a smaller scale version of what's been happening to London.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah. Liverpool's way better though, so it's for the best in the end. But
Yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I love it. It's just people are different here. People are really chill. I like it.
I visited Liverpool. Very nice time.
Yeah, it almost feels like a town. You know what I mean? Despite being a city,
Yeah.
like
Completely,
it's
yeah.
culturally town-like.
There's nice local chip shops.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be in an area where there is a chip shop. London, but in most places there aren't normal chip shops.
Oh, really?
Most of London is I guess it's just too expensive for a chip shop to buy.
Oh yeah, I guess they don't exactly have expensive food there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sad. That's like, what's the fucking point of even being in England at that point?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Many of the places I've lived in London have been incredibly damp, very cold,
right.
very expensive. one bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Have you had a lot of problems with like mold and shit then?
Oh, really bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Bad. Very, very. One place in particular, awful.
What was that like?
Like it was just so cold all the time that there was like mold growing like alongside the bed.
Right.
Like huge, yeah.
Christ.
My phone would like, with the sort of damp, it would like swell up. The battery would swell up because it was so cold and damp all the time.
The battery would swell.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't even know that could happen. Jesus.
It was like I could see the phone case like sort of freezing, like popping around it. It was not good.
No. Oh Christ.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Is where you're at now? Is it a bit better or?
I absolutely love the place now. Really fortunate. So I'm renting with Olio London.
Right.
They're like a spin-off, like a, you know, I think they're still, but it's like an offshoot of the National Housing.
Right.
So they're just not skimming as
They're what? Sorry.
they're not skimming as much profit, so it's much cheaper.
Oh, good.
Got, like, a lot more space relative. This one's a good one. But we, you know, this place, we all were almost evicted at the beginning of the year because our flatmate moved out, and in order to renew the tenancy, they wanted to do income checks on us again. We've been living here for the past like 3 years.
Right.
And they wanted us to both be earning, or like between us earning £40,000 a year, stay here, which
Right.
is a million miles away from what we're earning.
Yeah.
So we would have had like just, you know, we were earning just enough to be able to pay the rent basically. Like I'm on universal credit, so it adjusts to how much my rent is. But
Right.
it wouldn't have been tenancy. So if we weren't like extremely fortunate to have a friend who is willing to basically lend us 6 months rent up front, we're paying them back.
Oh wow.
And yeah, then we would have been forced to, I mean, we were basically planning to just like, you know, we were planning to keep paying rent.
Yeah.
we were planning to beg our landlord to allow us to keep paying.
Right. Right.
But yeah, we would have had to basically just try to stick it out here regardless, and like and hope that they would need to so it's like even if you're in like a lucky situation, a good place, and you know, average landlords,
Mm-hmm.
like, you still can absolutely like lose all of it so easily.
Yeah, yeah. There's always that level of precarity, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm in a similar-ish position where I've lived in some real shitholes, but the place I'm in now is all right. And just before coronavirus properly kicked off, my letting agency or whatever contacted me about trying to book in a viewing because they were having a property surveyor over. Which, for those who don't know, if you own a property and you're getting it surveyed, that means you're putting it on the market, or have possibly even agreed a sale. Some people who are irresponsible, they will wait until a sale is pretty much agreed, and then they'll go get the paperwork done and get a surveyor to go, and it's a pain in the ass. I used to work in mortgages, and everyone who has enough money to buy or sell a house, they're all lazy, incompetent boobs. That's my big take. So that's a scary thought, because it's like, all right, so if someone fucking buys this place, you know, they might kick everyone out to do something with it. But then COVID happened, and the surveyor he canceled his appointment, and we never heard about it again. So our days may be numbered, but somewhat extended.
I hope that you get to absolutely fuck them if they're away from you.
Yeah, it's I don't know. If they do get back in touch about sorting out a surveyor appointment, then maybe I'll just be like really really like annoying to make an appointment with and keep like delaying and having to reschedule.
I'm just gonna go to the loo quickly.
All right.
But...
Hey Scrussel, hey Visor in the chat. Hope you guys are doing good. I read that as renters unicorns. God damn it. Nah, I'm sorry. We're not going to be discussing any unicorns today. Just like shitty, scrupulous landlords. And hello to Nightmare Alpha. I think I might not have said already. Just everyone, hello. I hope you guys are having a good, chill Sunday. I've just been like really fucking tired, and I've not been sleeping super good, and I've been spending a lot of my waking time trying to get this fucking video done. So that's why I'm just playing Binding of Isaac. I think is a fairly chill game. I don't think you need to use your brain too much. So I'm just having this to just have something simple on. We're going to talk a bit about the London Renters Union in a bit, so if anyone in the chat, has questions and stuff, don't hesitate to ask them. I'm sure between Nat and me, we can conjure up a semi-coherent answer. I'm sure they'll be very coherent, and I'll be like 50-50 for me. That's my guarantee, 50-50. I need to blow these up and get all these coins. You know we love coins here. Oh wait, can I... Will this let me... Oh no, this is... What the fuck is... Alright, the scissors don't do what I thought they did. Never mind. I thought it let me like fly around as a head. The scissors, it's not a great item, the scissors. We don't need those. See if I can't replace those with something a little better. By the way, everyone, I should have featured them on Saturday. Little unofficial mini feature. Some of you guys might be familiar with the Lit Crit guy. He started making YouTube videos. I'm helping him out just a little bit with audio and stuff. Highly recommend. He's really fucking smart. He actually does the gosh darn reading, and it shows. In a lot of his work, so I highly recommend that. Next Saturday I might feature his latest video. I think he's just finishing it off, kind of polishing it a little bit.
Hello, I'm back.
Oh, hello. I was just recommending to everyone watching a YouTuber called the Lit Crit guy. Some people might know of him. He's been a presence. He's been around doing stuff, but he started making YouTube videos, and they're good.
Oh.
He's a big brain boy, big brain smart boy, and he says smart things. So you do you wanna talk? So having established, of course, that landlords suck and that renting is a bit of a precarious nightmare, I would highly advise anyone watching right now to seek out a tenants union, and I believe that you have gone ahead and done that, and you've joined the London Renters Union. How's that been?
So I joined about a year ago, and I've been just kind of a passive until recently, obviously, with the coronavirus crisis. A lot of people are in incredibly precarious and frightening situation. So I wanted to see what I could do to help, and they then sending asking for people to help with phone banking. So basically, you just do like Zoom call 2 hours, and they like train you so that you like they show you a little guide and some resources to send people for how to do phone banking sessions, and then just been doing like signing up for a schedule. Like I'm going to do a couple of hours this day, I'm going to do a couple of hours this day, and they've just had us basically ringing the entirety of the membership, which like more than doubled over the past couple of years because of this crisis.
Oh wow. So COVID has led to a huge boom then in membership for the union.
Absolutely, and because everybody see that thing is structurally issue right now, that the security that people are facing at such a huge scale is just intolerable.
Yeah.
So we've just been calling all the members to ask how they're doing, find out what kind of situation they're in, if they're like at immediate risk of eviction, legal eviction at the point, then we can signpost them to sources and like action groups that can help them resist eviction. But also it's sort of just trying to gauge how interested they are in collective action and encourage them to do more action.
That's smart. So London Renters Union, do they ever do eviction resistance themselves?
Yeah.
Like, okay, good.
Yeah, so they'll physically put themselves in the way.
All right, yeah, good. I've noticed that pretty much every tenants union that's been cropping up, they have that sort of militant edge and are actually like they will go so far as to like actually engage in direct action and not just be sort of an advocacy thing, which to me that's the thing that makes them better than a lot of the big like labor unions are right now, because a lot of those are very just sort of administrative bodies at this point.
Definitely, like it's not professionalized, like as in, you know, they're plenty professional enough, like they're working hard and they're doing a good thing, but this is tenants standing together, acting in solidarity to defend each other and defend each other's power. It's not just about, you know, obviously the law is a tool that you might be able to use sometimes to, you know, if your landlord is acting illegally, which they often do.
Yeah.
But have other tools, including of voices and bodies who can stand in front of your house and prevent bailiffs entering, landlords entering, and just get in the way for long enough that you might be able to appeal, or you might be able to, you know, there's other things to do.
Yeah, I once had agents trying to fucking kick me out, and I just like blocked up the door. And I don't really know. There was a few times where I could hear someone trying to get in, but they couldn't. And I just stopped answering calls from them while I looked for a new place. And
because they're not allowed to enter unless you fight them. Like bailiffs are not allowed to come in. They
yeah.
And not paying rent is not a criminal offence; it's a civil offence. So you don't have to be chased around forever after doing something. Necessarily.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's scary and risky.
Well, yeah.
People aren't facing eviction by choice, but
no,
it's just what people have to do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I wish that this was some years ago when if things like Acorn and stuff existed at that point, they were very small. I don't think that they really did exist. So I was not in a union at that point. So I was just kind of trying to sort shit out myself. I would have loved for something like the London Renters Union or like Acorn to exist. So yeah, I cannot recommend these things enough. Have you? So you've done some phone banking with them. That's cool.
Yeah.
Have are you? Yeah, maybe you haven't necessarily like been there in person, but are you aware of any evictions that they've been resisting during the pandemic at all? Like, have any landlords been trying to fucking kick people out during this?
I've heard of evictions that have happened,
Mm-hmm.
And before this, I've seen evictions that they've resisted.
Right.
Yeah, and they also have they have a guide for what people's rights are right now because they've been like modified during the crisis.
Right.
Kind of sources people, and also a template letter that people can use to get a rent reduction or freeze or whatever the landlords has.
Oh,
Which some
good.
people have been finding helpful. Like a few people have been saying that it's helped or worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when you join the union as well, like they ask what kind of things you're interested in doing, what kind of skills you have. So, you know, if you're feeling like, you know, if you're interested in joining but you're not sure what you could offer,
Mm-hmm.
tell them what you'd like to do, and they'll tell you what you like. There's tons of work to do, and they'll find things to do.
Okay, so it sounds like they've got some ideas in place for just kind of making sure that they're utilizing members' different sort of abilities and stuff. Then.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I joined at first, they were, you know, they want to be creating materials that people can be seeing, and that means having designers and cameras. People just also they want to be able to interview tenants. Like it's valuable to people to hear tenants' stories or hear their own stories reflected.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like I did like I was a subject, I suppose, in a study. Someone was doing just about renting and tenants in the UK. Like he was doing it for like a university thing, and I was talking to him about it, and he was telling me about how doing that study had really made him realize how almost universal a lot of his experiences that he thought were just unique to him about like shitty renting experiences were. But it's like, no, just talking to people, I've realized that like loads of people go through this, and once you understand it that way, the ability to then see it as something where you can organize with people and have some kind of solidarity there based on like a shared experience, that grows enormously once you realize that it is a shared experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So like doing the phone banking, they were saying when you're having these conversations, you want to get people talking about their shitty renting experience and like their current stress right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, talk to them if you're experiencing the things, like reflect that back to them, and then politicize it.
Yeah.
Like it's not right that everyone is at such high risk. There's no need for it. Landlords can get a mortgage freeze. We should be entitled to a rent freeze.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely never underestimate the power of just letting people hear outside confirmation that the things that they think are bullshit are indeed bullshit and that they're not alone. I found that a lot with just sort of trying to like agitate in the workplace. Like everyone hates their fucking job. Everyone hates their fucking boss. But yeah, everyone, you need that kind of external push to be like, no, yeah, everyone in this room thinks the same thing, and we're all in the same position. And what are we gonna do about that? You know?
Yeah, yeah, and there is something. Like it's been like every single person that I got through to on the phone was obviously it's a self-selection group because these are already members. Of
Yeah.
They were all on board with collective action, all on board with the idea of a general strike. Some were more hesitant than others, and it's always conditional based on, could it actually be successful? I don't want to put myself at risk if, I don't want to be the only one doing something, basically, because
yeah, of course,
it's a risky thing to do. But during the phone banking training, they were trying to be tactful and maybe use the language of deliberately withholding rent rather than using the phrase rent strike.
Right.
Because sometimes, so often people they recognize like a slogan as representing something that's other than them, whereas if you describe what it is, they'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
But everybody that I spoke to was like, oh, rent strike, cool.
Hell yeah.
It wasn't necessary.
No, that's good. I'm glad that people are open to the idea. It's something that I think tenants unions and other sort of socialist orgs are talking about a lot right now. I think I'm sure there's a London one. The Solidarity Federation is like an anarchist group that has branches all over the UK, and they, at least the Liverpool one, it's the only one I really know anything about. They also sometimes do like eviction resistance and sort of stuff like that, even though they're not specifically a tenants union or anything. But they're talking a lot about rent strikes and shit like that. Obviously, Acorn is. I'm very glad that London Renters Union is. Just normalizing these ideas and establishing to people that like loads of people want to do this as well. That has benefits, of course, that are going to extend far beyond this crisis, and are going to, they're going to make tenants a more robust social sort of class, I suppose, in their own right, going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just got the page up that's like the general demands outside of this crisis that London Renters Union are asking for. So like decent standards in housing, rent controls that take account of local incomes and are decided by democratic bodies. So what I'd heard last was that their sort of long-term campaign for rent to be no more than the third of the median income area,
right?
Which would make people housing justice for people in temporary accommodation, which should be safe and secure within borough and part of a quick, clear path to a permanent. No discrimination in access to housing, so ending discrimination against renters' children and against renters' benefits, which I always think is so ridiculous, because if you're on benefits, your access to rent, like money for rent, is often a lot better and more secure than other people's.
Yeah, it's very
even
stable.
If you don't have much money for anything else, yeah.
yeah. The rent's like the one thing that, I've spent time on benefits, and rent is like the one thing I don't really have to worry about. Everything else I'm fucked because you get so little, but rent is paid,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's hard to take it as anything but just like blatant discrimination against like people who are poor, and especially people who are disabled. Like,
yeah, it's just saying these people are undesirable.
Yeah.
Property, if we want their money, money and shut up. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no borders in housing, ending the nationality requirement for social housing, no border checks and license enforcement regimes, public housing available to all, and the right to buy, and housing for people, not profit, ending the politics and culture of property as in bringing public.
So you're cutting out a bit. What was that last bit?
End the politics and culture of property as investment rather than to house people, and bring homes into democratic public ownership.
Hell yeah. Those are good. I like that. So that's kind of their mission statement, their sort of goals as an organization then?
Yeah. Those are their broader goals. Definitely worth getting involved with these kinds of things.
Absolutely. I really appreciate sort of the ambition of it and the scope of it. Like they're not getting sort of bunkered down in like a single thing. It's like this is it. This is what we're about. It's a very far reaching. Now we want like housing justice in general. That's awesome. Now I've said it before, and I'll say it a million more times. I'm just so hyped that that things like this are coming around now. I sometimes it can be frustrating and disheartening, obviously, being a communist in this world. But honestly, whenever I feel like that, I always just kind of look back at what things were like 15 years ago, and it's like, nah, actually things are going great. We are in such a stronger fucking position than we were 15 years ago. 15 years ago was a nightmare.
It like was, during Blair's era, I was pretty young. And the erasure of the left was invisible to me. And now you can look back on it as history, and so it gets recognized as this sort of period of time other than liberalism as normal. It can be called out for what it is.
And I think we spent a lot of time kind of reckoning with the damage of the Blair era, because I don't think at the time even a lot of people who were more who were adults at the time, who were grown up and very experienced on the left, I think even they wouldn't have and couldn't have like fully grasped the scope of the damage that was being done. Like it was quite far reaching. And I hope that, I say I hope, but I'm incredibly confident that the lesson has kind of been learned. I don't think that those kinds of politics are going to be able to really get anywhere anymore.
Especially with...
Especially with what, sorry?
With climate change being just starting to have its effects right now. Starting destroy right now. Even the kind of liberals who are invested in challenging climate change before, it's just getting so much harder and harder for them to marry kind of any like liberal idea of social justice with the actual reality of capitalism.
No, it's we're sort of 15, 20 years ago, we were very mired in sort of the end of history and everything feeling like it was never going to change or move. But I think we've seen things largely from things like I wish I could say it was from the might of the left, but it's largely things outside of our control. It was largely crises brought on by capital, and I'm including climate change in that. Has pushed things to a point where it's exactly like you say. You just those sorts of politics are just so obviously inadequate to everyone who looks at it for more than a second.
Yeah.
That it's just
I mean,
people just get annoyed with centrism now.
Yeah, like it is a fact that the recession happened during a Labour government
Yeah,
to this country.
yeah,
So there's a deep distrust, for very good reason, of that kind of politics again from a lot of the rest of the country, except for there's just this sort of slim number of people who just wish the good old days would come back when the Labour Party wasn't fighting and being mean to each other and telling people to fuck off and go join the Tories.
I hate when people are being mean online.
Yeah, but then what does the rest of the country think about the Labour Party right now when they've their last experience with Labour was the recession?
Yeah,
Because they bent over backwards for global finance.
yeah, and a lot of people aren't engaged enough with just like the inner workings and drama of the party to fully delineate between, say, like the
Absolutely.
Corbyn and Blair era. So there was a lot of people criticizing Corbyn on the grounds of like Blairite politics and having to try to like explain like, no, we don't like those fuckers either. This is a different thing, even though it's literally the same party.
Yeah. And you have to earn that kind of trust as well. Like,
Yeah.
there's, like, people shouldn't just believe politicians.
No, of course not. Definitely
And
not.
people don't know all the names and faces of the Labour Party from the last few decades. Like, it's difficult to communicate that and
Yeah.
prove it through being part of the community action. Expect people to just believe you and say that you.
Yeah, definitely. Like the only reason that I would ever say anyone should believe like Corbyn or Sanders when they say anything they say is because we've got these decades of them kind of being very consistent, which is the same reason why I tell people don't believe like Elizabeth Warren when she says, I think she's already like long since like ditched it, but there was a little while where she was saying, oh yeah, I'll do Medicare for all. It's like, no, she won't. She was against this until recently, and I'm pretty sure she's already gone back to being against it. It's like, you can't trust if someone changes their mind that quickly. You should assume they're full of shit until they like have really proven it.
The thing I find so mind-blowing is just how small-minded it is that these people who rise to the top in such a huge country, like, just don't care to look around the world and think, why do I think that Americans are uniquely either undeserving of or incapable of providing healthcare for themselves?
Yeah, a lot of the Democrats have the general like lib problem where they very firmly believe that Americans are like profoundly reactionary and unintelligent.
Yeah, it's so insulting.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, there's reactionary people in every fucking country, but like, people are the results of their environment. So like, if after 8 years of Obama, people are, you have an electorate that's willing to elect somebody like Trump, then like at a point you got to start asking some questions as Democrats, like what kind of world are you making here?
Yeah.
I wish that conditions that lead to things was more of a discussion in mainstream politics. 'Cause a lot of people they'll talk about candidates in isolation, like Trump or Obama. It's like, yeah, you'd be right to say for most people that like Obama was probably better than Trump in a lot of ways, but you gotta understand, like, and a lot of people don't, and obviously this is a very strong argument against Biden, which is that the Obama administration created the conditions that led to Trump's victory and to an even further right kind of politics, like taking hold. Like, there's no
as well.
justification for going back to it.
Yeah, I find it useful to like, um, politics is this sort of successive layering up of like institutions, policies, and ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Labour wasn't a rejection of Thatcherism; it was building up on top of it.
Yes.
And a lot of the things that New Labour is credited for improving people's like standards of living and at the time, like, you know, the Tory party was already starting to do that layering up of new like technologies and institutions. You know, turning around after Thatcher under John Major and being like, oh well, okay, I guess we've got to start improving things a bit, or they're gonna say, like, they maintain this just like constant balance of like, how badly can we treat these people before they reject us?
Yeah.
And it wobbles up and down, and they kind of absorb some of the lessons, and they layer up these policies and things. But it's really not so much like a left right swing back and forth thing at all, because the left never has the power at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it, and I think it can sort of relieve people of some of the illusions, I guess, of viewing like, and it's an understandable mindset, but viewing like, if this is the right, then the guys running against them must automatically be the left. So Blair must be the left, the Democrats must be the left.
Yeah.
And it can really make it impossible to like understand what you're looking at when you look at sort of the political history of like the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like, well, why would it be the case, and why would it be the case that there's a, you know, okay party and a party who actively wants to kill us? Like,
Yeah.
and you have to reach the conclusion that it's only because there's people invested in making sure that the worst of the okay party always, you know, that whatever benefits them gets to hang out in power, regardless of whether you have the party killing you slowly or the party killing you quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Hiya Breadstick. Breadstick says Warren's healthcare plan was incredibly watered down and had a loophole for large companies to exploit. She was never for Medicare for all. That is true. She was always kind of full of shit. But her healthcare reform definitely got like shittier and shittier as she kept kind of trying to like water it down more and more. If she had like been the candidate and had won, her whole thing would have been to kind of Obama it, where, you know, she'd run on a few like key reforms and then just kind of like, I really noticed it with how her supporters were always talking about, oh, she has a plan and stuff like that. Her thing was gonna be to just like endlessly struggle against the Republicans to do it for like 4 years and then say, well, didn't work out. That's why
and then it
didn't
gets
do it.
stripped back as soon as she's gone. Like,
yeah,
that's not pragmatism.
Yeah, no, it's foolishness. It's wasting your fucking time is what it's doing, and killing people along the way.
It's not pragmatic to be endlessly like nudging and mitigating, nudging in ways that can be that scare the opposition or give them fuel to, you know, take drastic action, which means that it's 1 step forwards and 2 steps back, rather than actually like taking control of it.
Yeah, I think during the primary, a lot of people were watching everyone but Bernie pretty much just be like, oh, you can't just do stuff. You know, you gotta do all these things. And meanwhile, Trump is just like literally just doing whatever the fuck he thinks of. He's like, oh yeah, I'll just do that. It's like something's got to click at some point.
People actually want politicians that tell them that they can do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think that extends beyond like a left-right divide. They would like to see someone say that they can just do something.
Yeah, and that's part of the appeal of Trump. Like, whether it's true or not, he'll just be like, yeah, I'll just do that. Like, this thing you want me to do? Yeah, boom, it's done. Vote for me. Like, you cannot defeat that if you're gonna be like someone like Warren, who's like, oh no, you got to do this and this, and then here's my 50-year plan to move towards a semi-nationalized healthcare system. Like, Trump will beat you every time if that's how you talk about things, you know? Of course, that's a moot point because Warren is not the nominee. Biden does a very similar sort of thing. Like, he's very incrementalist and stuff, but he also is promising less, so it's less noticeable.
Oh, good.
I think that people should vote for Skittles. I think you should write in Skittles on the ballot. Or Vermin Supreme, I guess.
I've seen that guy.
Yeah, he's a libertarian, so like he is like a fun meme, but also like he is a libertarian. Don't vote for Vermin Supreme. Like, he actually does kind of suck. There's a lot of like left anarchist people who like do like him, and I don't know why. Like,
yeah, I've seen this, and yeah.
I cannot stress enough that he is not that kind of libertarian. He is very much like a right libertarian guy.
Yeah.
I think he's like socially progressive, kind of. Like, I think he's like cool with like gay people and probably trans people and stuff.
Huh.
So I think.
Could be worse.
Yeah, well, he doesn't give a lot of the non-economic signifiers of being right-wing, like especially to Americans. So I think that he can appear sort of different than he is. It doesn't matter because he's like not like a real candidate, but I just think it's sort of strange.
They'd basically be voting for these nuts.
Hell yeah! Which, by the way, do vote for that. That's who I'm going to be voting for when we have a general election here. So I highly recommend it.
Was the guy like Captain Buckethead, the guy who runs here against the Prime Minister?
Oh,
time?
I'm not sure what they're called.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's
Lord Buckethead.
Lord Buckethead. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, vote for Lord Buckethead.
Yeah.
Get him in there. Get him onto the debate stage. Yeah, I'm always really like fascinated by these weird like protest candidates who like do it consistently and like knowing obviously that they're not gonna win.
Yeah, I think it's good for morale.
I guess that's my thing. Like, are you just doing it for fun, or are you hoping that? I wonder if they ever think like, maybe I'll get just enough support that I can like bring something into the national conversation. Kind of like Yang, he really brought like UBI into the conversation, even though he was never really in the running.
Yeah, I think Lord Buckethead, like, because he particularly runs against people running for prime minister.
Mhm.
I think it's just Tories as well.
Right.
I think he just does a good job of embarrassing them. Like they have to stand on stage with him and respect him as a person, and it's kind of good for sort of revealing the emperor's got no clothes kind
Yeah, I'm into that. I'm into just like fucking with the Tories. I think that's a valid like political program. No, I support him.
of any and every way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. People like that are interesting. Adam Kokesh is arguably crazier than Vermin Supreme. I don't even know who that is. You're coming out here with these indie candidates. I'm mainstream. I'm basic, you know. I listen to Oasis and vote for Vermin Supreme. Yeah, some people are talking about in the U.S. People are talking about voting green, which I don't know. A lot of people are coming to the conclusion, and I would say the correct one, that the Democrats might not be a good vehicle for like trying to move them to the left and do politics that way. I just think it would be very funny because like every country has a Green Party who's always been there and has always been like irrelevant. And it's usually full of like a few old kind of hippies. There might be an anti-vaxxer there in the American one.
I always because Jill Stein is like the big green candidate, right?
Yeah.
So as far as I know, she's pretty good. In the UK, like the Green Party is pretty quite liberal.
Yeah.
Not particularly leftist. I think they have more leftists of interesting people now than they did.
Maybe I'll vote green then. I don't know. When Ed Miliband ran, I voted for the Pirate Party.
They've got some TERFs as well though in the party.
Oh, boo!
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I guess Labour does too.
Yeah, who does? Fortunately.
Yeah, the thing. Listen, anyone watching this who's not from the UK, what you got to understand about UK politics is we got TERFs, and they're always posting cringe, and yet they just don't seem to lose subscriber, and that's sort of.
Infestation.
It is an infestation, and also it's in clear defiance of the law of post cringe lose subscriber. So that's upsetting. Although it is, they do have frequent like meltdowns and embarrass themselves. So yeah. I don't know. That's pretty fun to watch. Recently, known TERF Julie Bindel deleted her Twitter, and somebody took her handle and just started posting stuff like "I'm an asshole" and stuff, and it was really good.
Oh my gosh, that's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know why she deleted. If people were like giving her shit for her recent being horrible, or see, that would be weird to me because it's like, why now, right? Like,
yeah, maybe she like. Like Graham Linehan is clearly absolutely obsessed in a way that is harmful to him as well as to other people.
Yeah,
maybe
he's not
she just
doing
got
good.
Sick of it. Like, this is bad for me, mental health.
Maybe she had a moment of self-awareness. It was just like, am I happy? Am I enjoying myself right now? Yes, correct. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but correct in the chat there. Fuck Graham Linehan. Cannot stress that enough.
Absolutely.
We do not support the lime ham on this stream. Yeah, like, obviously, he's a detestable piece of shit. But there is also definitely a part of me that's just like, for your own good, buddy, you need to log off. He's ruining
his life.
He's ruining his life, and also like, I don't know. I feel like he's not well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can see stuff like, his family and colleagues and friends and stuff where like you can see evidence of them trying to like get him to stop for his own sake and for everybody else's. Like,
yeah, that was something
bad
that really hit me, was seeing like his family just being like, please fucking stop. It was like, oh my god, this guy's not just another like grifter. He's like genuinely like fucking up his life and not having a good time here at all.
It's like a cult.
Yeah. It is. It's very, turf stuff has always been very culty. I feel like it's just been like concentrating in that way. And it's
like Graham Linehan has personally harassed 2 different trans people that I'm friends with, like 2 different trans women who are friends. He's personally harassed them and sent a whole army of TERFs after them to try and destroy their lives.
It's just such a fucking, imagine being like, a reasonably, famous, successful, well-off person and like doing that with your time. It's nuts. It would be very sad if he wasn't so like detestable, It's like, no, I don't know. It's
I think he's an interesting like. It's good to expose him as a representative of Earths, because I think what sort of ordinary people who aren't very familiar with like trans people and trans discourse, who maybe have sort of casually transphobic views, they see actual like AstroTurf bots and like people who are obsessed on Twitter replying with like apparently innocent questions.
Yeah.
And then they see them get shut down with like up turf, like no one's talking to you.
Yeah.
And they're like, that person just asking questions that I want to ask. Would I be treated that way? That's not right. But when you have figures like Graham Linehan, like exposing how obsessed they are, like just exposing the kind of harassment, everything that people are go through, like.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It cannot be overstated how valuable it is to show that these people are fucking weird. Like,
They are fucking weird.
Like, a lot of people do, of course, have like transphobic ideas, but most people aren't, they don't really give a shit. They're not like invested in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'd say the most common opinion I'd expect is people just being like, oh, that's weird. Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, seeing that like the people who are against this are like completely unhinged. No, it definitely it does us a favor.
Occupies that every waking.
Yeah, like if you decide that you want to have a problem with trans people, it becomes a full-time job. I don't make the rules. You have to just think about this constantly. That is the message.
Do that. Gotta shut up.
Yeah. I need to learn some kind of standard phonetic English alphabet to explain my name. Anyway, you can call me Beryl. All right, I will call you Beryl. Assuming I'm pronouncing that right. Visor asks, have you been paying attention to POC Labour MPs being thrown under the bus? Yeah, we briefly mentioned that earlier. So, of course, Keir Starmer is here to show us all that he's not a big racist, anti-Semite like Corbyn. So first things first, we're going to put Rachel Reeves, who praises Nazis, on the cabinet, and then we're going to get rid of all those black MPs. We don't want those when we're trying to not be racist. So, because they might notice if we're being racist, right? So, got to get rid of them. And I don't know who's... At this point, I would not be surprised if he just started like purging Jewish people from the party and being like, finally, we're getting anti-Semitism under control. This is what you meant, right?
John Landsman out.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's I cannot stress this enough, folks. Fuck Keir Starmer. Fuck his whole cabinet and just
Has
everything. Long
has he
Bailey's fine.
responded to it? Because I was seeing I was seeing people complaining about Diane Abbott being in that platforming people who'd been expelled, but has Keir Starmer like responded to it?
Um, I'm not sure if he's actually like publicly made any kind of a statement. Um,
I think basically like a lot of the right wingers, they're trying to push him to prove that he's on their side. So there's tons of stuff coming out right now about a whole bunch of different left wing MPs where they're trying to like get him to sacrifice them basically.
yeah, yeah.
Like
People are definitely like calling for him to do some purging here.
yeah, like Russell Lloyd as well. There's been a whole bunch of.
Yeah, I mean, the right, there is a very good chance that the right will be smart enough to purge their opposition in the party, whereas we were not.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. In a way, it would be a blessing, I think, because I think it would it would put an end to any sort of wishful thinking a lot of people are having about Starmer like actually respecting what the membership wants in any way. I think it's good for people to know where they stand. I think the leaks were really good for that because a lot of people would be like, yeah, a lot of people would be like, oh, we can work with the Blairites. It's like, no, they will throw an election. They don't give a fuck. Like, they will straight up lose and like be disappointed if the party's polling well when we get in control. Like, there is no collaborating with these people.
What do you think of some people suggesting like Corbyn's like starting a new party with the left? You know, just drawing the left out of Labour, basically.
So my position is that if you do that, you got to do it with the understanding that you're not, at least for a very long time, winning any kind of election. There might be a couple of seats you could nab, but it would have to be with the understanding that you are doing this to make a statement that Labour is not where you go if you're a socialist. You would have to, this party would have to exist to assist other non-electoral socialist orgs. It would have to be something that could facilitate resources and give sort of a legitimate front to more radical stuff as well. Not unlike Sinn Féin, where it's sort of like we're the parliamentary sort of part of like Irish republicanism. Except obviously, there'd probably be less bombing from whatever that party would be a front for. I don't.
There'd probably be less occupations.
Yeah, less occupations. Obviously, I'm not encouraging anyone join the IRA on my stream Twitch. Be nice to me, please. So if people were approaching it with that mindset and understanding that this would be a socialist party and it would function like a socialist party, then I'd be all for it. I'd say, yeah, do it. I'm not. Some people are very invested in the idea of kind of like fighting for the soul of Labour, but I have never considered the Labour Party something that was automatically on our side, I suppose.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, it's not been like a socialist party for a very, very long time. So it's more a pragmatic argument that you can get more left-wing policies through by pushing Labour, really.
Yeah. So the argument for starting another party would be, it would be sort of giving that up in the short term, in an effort to try to build something that would even remotely serve the purposes of the working class in the long term in a way that I don't necessarily think the Labour Party could. So if they were able to get support from like people on the Labour left, like Corbyn and stuff, if it seemed like the main people involved had a realistic understanding of what they'd be undertaking and understanding that they wouldn't just like become the new opposition party right away or anytime soon, then there'd be a conversation there, and I'd be interested in that. I would probably be supportive of that, because I mean, what I'm saying to people now is ditch fucking Labour. Maybe rejoin if there's another leadership election and you think you can like do something worthwhile. But like people should be spending their time and money on things like tenant unions, on socialist organizing. We don't have a lot of good socialist orgs in the UK. A lot of them are just like full of like weird factionalist nerds who don't do anything. So don't organize around like some like 5 guys in a basement who've declared themselves a party, but organize around things like tenant organizing or things like Food Not Bombs, like
organize around other than like ideology first. Like obviously the ideology is inherent to solving those needs, but rather than just being a club where you say what you are.
Yeah, exactly. I've always said that like if you think the party is a necessity, all right, but nowhere in any political theory should you be getting the idea that you become a party by saying you're the party. The party represents something that you get to a point where you and the people you're organizing with can fulfill that. You do not declare you are the party, you become it. So it's like, you need to be working in your community, not with your fucking like book group from your uni, So I think that's where people should be putting their attention, because I don't think that your time and certainly your money is well spent right now in the Labour Party. Things like I was saying earlier, I'm 100% sure that Starmer will not win, so there probably will be a swing back to the left at some point. But don't give them your fucking dues in the meantime. Fuck them. We know that they have been misappropriating them anyway to like fuck around. Like,
I mean, I wasn't a member of the Labour Party until Corbyn anyway.
Yeah, I didn't join until him.
And even then, it was like just before the last election.
Yeah,
so it's not like I was investing a lot of time into the Labour Party anyway. I do feel like because there was such huge entry of socialists and like class-conscious people into the Labour Party under Corbyn, there is still like a fight to be had right now, and that doesn't mean that like we need people doing it, but there will be a fight happening still.
Yes.
Or, Keir Starmer, like he is what he is, but the leader of the party isn't all of it. And
certainly,
he doesn't really have like ultimate decision over what happens. He's just really the gets to make.
Yeah, like I think so for me, part of the fight against the sort of right-wing elements of the Labour Party is part of it is kind of pulling your support in this time. It's not unlike what I think people should do with the Democrats. Use your leverage. Don't just like inherently fall in line by default, make sure they fucking earn it. And if they won't, don't fucking support them. I think that's part of it as well. Just sort of like pushing things to the left and not allowing a center-right Labour Party to like function and exist, basically.
Yeah, there's just I feel like I they want your vote,
Yeah.
but they actively don't want you to be a member. Like the Labour right actively want you to quit on the idea that you have any influence over what they choose to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
That's
that
why they spent so much time trying to like chuck out leftists.
yeah, certainly. Yeah, they want it to be their sort of special club for them.
Yeah.
I mean I'm skeptical on like how far you can go with the party in the first place.
Yeah.
And just sort of like the return on effort for that fight.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I certainly wouldn't fault anyone for like going back for like leadership elections and stuff and continuing to push in that direction because like why not also be pushing on that front, but just like for the time being I think things like phone banking and shit, don't fucking phone bank for Keir Starmer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like phone bank for fucking London Renters Union, phone bank for Acorn if you're gonna be doing it. Just one. This goes for Bernie supporters as well as Corbyn supporters. Those campaigns were built on sort of like fuck tons of volunteer labor from
Yeah.
like organizers, a lot of whom were to the left of the candidate. Don't just give that shit to like Joe fucking Biden or Keir Starmer. Like, nah.
And now, like, now those people who are organized around Bernie are being organized like the coronavirus,
Yeah.
helping people cope with the current crisis.
Yeah. And that is honestly awesome. Like, I love it.
Yeah. Like, that is more proof than anything else that would have. It was a good move. It's a good move.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that sort of stuff builds. I think it builds confidence in organizers, but also it builds sort of bonds in communities as well.
Yeah.
And that the reason that I say that people need to sort of pull back from the Labour Party and focus on things like that is because even if in a few years when Starmer loses, you want to like fight to have an electoral side to the left again or whatever, sure, you're gonna be in a way better position in that fight if the people in your community have just spent like 3 years with the socialists being the people who were fucking looking after everyone during a crisis. You know what I mean? You want,
And as well, if
sorry,
they
what?
don't associate, as well if they're not associating you with like, faraway politicians who they don't care about, like, with their actual like fans.
Yeah. Most people don't, give a shit about politicians. Most like normal, healthy people don't. Anyway, it's weird to like be really like, yeah, Joe Biden's my father, like. So yeah, it's much more. That's why it's so crucial to be organizing in your community so that the people who live where you live associate those ideas not with fucking Corbyn, John McDonnell or whatever, but like with people they know and who like directly have made their lives and their communities better. That's really how we build a strong base. And then if we want to back a candidate, we can be more like kingmakers, like our backing can decide if a candidate's going to succeed or not, rather than being kind of like desperate underdogs as we are now on that field.
Yeah.
Stalin for PM 2020. Oh man, is he still alive? Get him in there. Leftism wins in local elections. Building on that base is the way forward. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah, it's
I find it funny that even conservatives, when it comes to their local election, their own constituents, they still promise the world and promise to take care of people because that's what people actually want. In just when it comes to the decisions for people far away, they make such ruthless statements, like explicitly anyway.
Yeah, it's I guess it's so much less abstract for people when it's a local election that maybe they're thinking a little bit more about the consequences of their fucking actions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was, between the 2017 and 2019 generals here, there was some local elections. I think Labour might have done kind of shit in that too. Did that happen? Am I remembering that right?
I don't really remember the outcome.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know there was also some European elections, where obviously the country that voted to leave the EU didn't take kindly to Labour wanting to do a second referendum. Not their most popular policy. I mean, I voted to remain, and like I was like, you're gonna another referendum. I'm gonna be like old enough to retire by the time we stop looking like arguing and fighting over fucking Brexit. I'm curious. Sorry, what?
I'm just kind of baffled by how people could so casually state it as just an obvious thing that the outcome of the first referendum be ignored, as if that wouldn't have consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, just very normal stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really curious, because Starmer obviously was a big Remain guy. I'm wondering if he's gonna try to run on like rejoining.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that would be suicide.
He's that brave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like imagine.
I don't think he's interesting enough to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just imagining after all these years of just exhausting, endless Brexit discourse, finally leaving the fucking EU and just being able to move on for better or worse, and then Starmer's like, "Hey, what if we just relive the past like 5 years? Can we just do that?" Labour would literally have like 5 seats left if he did that. It would be fucking hilarious.
I imagine he would probably be like, I'm the candidate that can bring you a strong relationship with Europe, even if it's very nice.
Yeah, he's probably gonna pursue like membership and all but name kind of thing.
Yeah. You know, his campaign materials had like integrity, authority on them. And
yeah.
Like, okay, a white man running against 2 women, like using the word authority in your materials is actually cheating.
It was yeah, even, and like I got one of those through my door, and just like even like the framing of the picture, like it was obviously meant to like invoke the image of like a strong, authoritative sort of male figure.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people's criticism of Corbyn were like very like weird criticisms about his masculinity and stuff. Like I did do some phone banking for Labour, and I got loads of dudes just being like, "Nah, he's not a real man. He's not gonna do what it takes." And it's just like, I don't know what the fuck you think his job would be if he was prime minister. but there was a lot of this weird, because he's like his whole thing is being like a kindly old man. So there was a lot of the rhetoric against him was that he isn't like enough of a strong male entity in politics or whatever.
Yeah. Like people might feel like at best he's like a well-intentioned, impractical figure, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like Starmer was specifically trying to distance himself from that with sort of like strongman imagery, while also benefiting from the fact that he's running against women, and Britain obviously is, a very misogynistic country still. And it probably worked. I mean, he won by a lot.
I'm sure it worked. I don't think I'd heard much of his like actual voice, or he won the leadership election. I'd mostly just sort of read about him.
He sounds like a weenie.
It doesn't. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm feeling that authority.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe if more people knew what he sounded like, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but...
He's so like, he just sucks. Like, for all the rhetoric about Corbyn being like weak or whatever, Starmer is so much weaker. He's a simpering little baby.
Is really, really weak.
He's kind of like English Jordan Peterson. He has like this, I don't know, he's got this kind of whiny little meh about him. You know what I mean? Like, he's just annoying to listen to. Yeah,
He's forensic, guys.
He's got a very forensic voice.
Oh my god. It's so surreal seeing so many tweets specifically saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. Everyone's... The whole rhetoric, like, finally, we've got a real opposition. He's forensically taking apart the Tories. And people just continuing to say that every day while he just keeps being like... The Tories have to tell me their exit plan. I do not challenge the notion of the exit plan. You better do it. Like he sucks. He's such a weak opposition. Like
he stepped back from demanding a rent freeze, which was Corbyn's, to a delayed rent. Which is what people can do anyway.
Yeah.
You don't even have to demand that. They can't be evicted, like, right now. So, basically, it's a demand not have revenge evictions, really.
Yeah.
Because no one can be evicted for not paying rent right anyway. So, it's not even a demand.
Yeah, it's nothing. He's demanding nothing. That's his hot strategy. He picks something that he'll eventually win on. Like, at some point, they're gonna say the exit strategy. Yeah, Zozo's right in the chat there. He's picked something where he will definitely eventually be able to say, look, they did the thing I said. I'm...
Absolutely.
Unlike that fucking Corbyn, I'm a big boy. Big boy opposition.
Yeah, but Corbyn got Theresa May building social housing, so...
Yeah. I think that's the most galling and just brain exploding thing about sort of all these years of weird propaganda is that it's always specifically like the exact opposite of what's going on. Like Corbyn was an incredibly effective opposition. He was some of the best like opposition. He's the best opposition I've ever seen in any country, really, like in politics, like in electoral politics.
Because Starmer's using all this language of not being critical for not complaining for complaining's sake or whatever.
Yeah.
But Corbyn was constantly backed by really solid, decent policies, and it wasn't all just like bending around to look good and score points. Like obviously there was some of that inevitably, but like he had good policies at the core of it. He wanted good things, and that's what he was asking for.
Yeah, and what Starmer is doing is he's implicitly putting the idea into people's heads that you need to, if you're arguing with the Tories, then you need to sort of prove that you're not just like doing it out of some like petty contrarianism, and that should be like your immediate discussion, and then you have to like prove, sort of guilty until proven innocent of that. And that's a pretty fucking unhealthy like political environment to try to nurture in this country,
Yeah, like I understand that a lot of people feel like that's what politics is. Like, talking to my family, they're very much like, I get the impression from them that they're kind of naive, like, well, if all this stuff was so bad, they wouldn't do it. Like, if all this stuff was so bad, they wouldn't be allowed to do it. They would be stopped from. And
yeah,
so they find, I'm sure that they find like something that looks like that, whether or not it's like someone saying that, something that looks like trying to not just cynically point scoring, and but the that's the point. Like the actual argument over real things that they're really doing bad looks like that anyway.
Yeah,
you're in that mindset where the government just couldn't be doing anything that bad or that wrong.
Yeah.
And then people honestly calling them out and saying they're doing something bad and wrong looks the same as the other politician having a go at any other politician.
Yeah, and it's a big part of how the Tories are able to be as like fucking horrible as they are. It does come from people in this country having this general idea that like their country has some inherent like integrity or decency, and like, oh no, that couldn't happen here. It can't be as bad as it's being made out to be.
UK generally is extremely complacent at the thing that, like, Tory voters, Labour voters, like, they all have, like, it's. I watched a video earlier from Shanalika, who made a video on white supremacy and coronavirus.
Right.
And they were just, a big part of it was claiming that a big part of the UK's failure to deal with coronavirus stems directly from arrogance and just being incapable of understanding or dealing with the idea that this pandemic could actually affect us, because this is something that happens in other countries. And I just feel like it's so true.
yeah, it definitely is. And I think there's also, I find Britain is really, it has a culture of being kind of up its own ass, as being like a politically kind of like civil place.
Yeah.
And I think that also very much lends to people just being like, oh, bad things don't happen here. That's those crazy reactionary Americans and those bad third world countries, not here,
Exactly. It's so much of my conversations with my family when they're not getting it leads straight to a comparison with America, where America is doing the same thing, but it's more visible to them because it's on TV with English people explaining how crazy and bad it is.
Yeah, one of the most damaging things in British politics is the trend of just like looking at America and being like, boy, thank God we're better than that. Because it's like, you aren't. You're doing the same thing. Fuck you.
It really is. And it's allowed, like, that mindset has allowed for the NHS to be like so ruthlessly torn apart. Like, the thing that we're most proud of, especially in contrast to the US.
Yeah.
Because we're like, well, at least we've got it.
Yeah.
We can fucking tear it apart.
it's an indicator that we are better than them. So like certainly we wouldn't actually get rid of it because we're better than them.
Nobody would do that.
Yeah, there's so much like circular logic like that in British politics. It's a total nightmare. But yeah, it makes it like fucking impossible to talk about what the Tories have been doing because they like this decade of conservative rule has been so fucking like bad that like having a frank conversation about all the shit they've done, like yeah, a lot of people are just gonna be like, you're exaggerating, like people just don't buy it because it's too awful to have happened in the UK.
Yeah, even like Labour voters and stuff have had conversations with like Liberals where talking about the like 2011 riots and stuff, and they were just kind of like, but there's nothing like that bad happening right now that would cause that would justify this kind of anger. And I'm like, yeah, there is. There's thousands of people dying. A recession has just happened. The number of youth centres in Hackney where it started had been like cut from like 11 to 3. Like all the councils have had their budgets halved. Like it was so extreme what they were doing. So dramatic.
Yeah.
In the middle of a recession when things were already hard for people.
Yeah, and it's incredible how effectively just kind of denial has been utilized to cover for that.
Yeah, to the extent that like a huge chunk of the country, they were asked, like they would just easily say the recession happened because of Labour overspending.
Yeah, that's a very prevalent narrative, which is mad because it's like it happened in other fucking countries.
Yeah, it happened because of.
Yeah.
Well, not certainly not just because of, but yeah.
Yeah, which ties into my biggest pet peeve in the world, which is people not fucking knowing how national economies work and assuming it works like a household budget and you can just spend all the money and then you're out of money. It's like, that's not how a country works. Why would that be how it works? Come on.
Yeah. It's actually like I've been reading David Harvey's Terrible Cities.
Right.
And so I've just been learning some basic math. But like the surplus of capitalism is like ever increasing surplus. They need to spend it.
Yeah.
Otherwise they're screwed because they don't have this expanding market, and capitalism can't continue without this expanding market. So
it has to expand.
Part of the job of a government in fueling capitalism is to keep spending and spending. Otherwise, capitalism can't continue.
Yeah, like it's this really ridiculous sort of like, well, it's like Thatcher, Reagan era sort of idea about economics, which even in the realm of largely sort of backwards and ridiculous capitalist economics simply does not hold any water at all. And it's total economic poison, austerity. Like it doesn't help anything.
Which is why we dropped straight back into a recession whilst they were making all the cuts.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also created
stuff on it. We started climbing back out.
Yeah, and they've used like just the most fucking pea-brained justification for it, and it's created this environment where everyone's boomer dad thinks they're a genius economist. You just gotta spend less money and then you're fine. It's like, that's not how anything works.
It's so painful, and it's so painful how like, me being a terrible student studying geography at uni, like I didn't graduate, but I learned enough to know that the basic economic statements being made by world government were fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
And that seems like a bad situation. How and why is that the situation?
Yeah.
because of our solidarity.
Well, yeah. Yeah, they're like they're nuking the economy itself so that their friends can make some like short-term profits, and then they just keep doing it to the point where it becomes long-term, you know? And then that's just what the economy is now. It's just like it's broken, and we go from recession to recession because like most people never really recovered from 2008, and now we have another recession. So like this is just going to keep happening. And the Tories are in power, so they're going to respond to it with more austerity. I think it's what the kids call socialism or barbarism.
Yes. I think the Tories will certainly respond with more fascism. I think it'll be, as it always has been, they don't spend less money, actually.
No.
It's all about appearances, so they just target groups of people to be stripped of their humanity, and then they claim that they're doing that so that they can spend less money. That's what austerity is.
Yeah, and then all the fucking like angry grandpas they whipped into a fervor by like running specials about benefit cheats or whatever. They can all be like, they're solving problems. They're getting the people I don't like by fucking butchering the welfare system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd be quite willing to believe that like the Tories under Boris would drop a little of that like neoliberal kind of facade and do bring back a little bit of Keynes with more fascism.
Ooh.
Basically, like that's kind of what they've been pointed at, right? Especially now with coronavirus. You know, I would be perfectly willing to believe that they would do some like infrastructural building. We can provide some jobs, yada yada yada. So people will suffer.
Yeah, COVID would. Yeah, COVID would definitely provide a cover for like the worst of it, and putting actually like investing in infrastructure a bit.
Especially with all of the like it would be the way to diffuse and like the class consciousness that's been created in the pandemic, basically the realization that the people most valuable in our society are treated worse.
Yeah.
So.
And again, they could maneuver to the left of Starmer on some things, like at least superficially with this infrastructure development. Because Starmer's going to keep being like, let's do nothing, and then act like we're doing something. And then Boris can be like, I just built a hospital, hey! And he'll fucking win.
And then Starmer goes, well done, I applaud.
Yeah, that's what he'll do. This just goes to show how great of an opposition I am. And then Boris will he'll gain another 50 seats next election.
Especially because, like, you know, Boris as a mayor was all about, like, big, showy legacy buildings and like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely useless, but, like, liked having buildings named.
Just dumb guy stuff. Like he's just a dummy.
The first thing I learned about him, like, just remember in my hydrology lecture, the first thing I learned about him, like as a politician, was them saying that he'd been insisting that he wanted a desalination plant for London because Spain was getting them because they have serious like desalination issues with overuse of water.
Right.
And he wanted one for London to have water supply here. Completely unnecessary, absolutely horrifically expensive. We pumped more water out of the tube system every day than we could hope to produce with a desalination plant.
Jesus.
Just like, oh, they have a toy, I want one.
Yeah, just genuine like toddler brain.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, that kind of comes back around to what we were talking about earlier. These people are not evil masterminds. They're just dipshit rich boys who like have
Yes.
incredible amounts of power.
Yeah.
Also, hello Wingless Monkey, hello Reese. Welcome to the
Hi, Wingless
stream.
Monkey.
Yeah, we're just chatting shit about the Tories in here. You know what it is. Also, Zozo linked just looking at the thumbnail there, that looks like a link to the story about the UN condemning the Tories for human rights abuses, which nobody gives a fuck. The UN's just like, hey, stop crimes against humanity, and everyone's like, no, we like it.
Yeah, the guy who wrote that report, I was seeing like videos from him. He's really good. He did a good job, and just like, you know, better than the right wing of the Labour Party, certainly.
Well, yeah.
At presenting an opposition to the Tories.
Yeah, Christ.
Because the right wing of the Labour Party was proposing so much of the exact same thing, and the Tories took over. They wanted to match them cut for cut. It's so depressing.
Yeah, like, well, they clearly around the time that Miliband was running, there was a big poll of supporting benefit cuts, and this was after like the Blair era was really, to me, I mean, I wasn't here really for the Blair era, but it seems to me that it was largely characterized by the rise of like weird like poverty exploitation shows on TV, like weird shows about like people on benefits and stuff, and all obviously demonizing them. Yeah. So the public had really been primed to just like assume everyone on benefits is exploiting the system somehow. So there was a poll around when Miliband was running, and it showed frighteningly huge public support for benefit cuts. So yeah, he immediately just did it. He was just like, this was popular. I just want to do what people want. Like, he was just very sort of like, he was a weather vane, I think, in a lot of ways. But he and his people saw the Tories were already doing it. So he was like, we're going to do it more. You like this, right? Right, British public? We're going to do it double. Like,
the Labour Party at that point were not just proposing benefit cuts, they were proposing basically like poorhouse shit. They were proposing that people would have to take less than minimum wage, like supermarket type jobs to receive benefits.
Jesus.
Yeah, evil. They were essentially proposing like indentured servitude, like slavery kind of shit.
Yeah, it's crazy that that didn't bring the voters out.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's mad how the refusal to do any introspection on the fact that the first person to gain seats since the turn of the century was Jeremy Corbyn. Like, it's just been like,
yes,
like Blair lost seats on his next election, then Gordon Brown lost fuck tons, and then Miliband lost a few more.
They were sincerely proposing like dystopian shit, like the Labour Party.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been horrific coming from the Tories, but it wasn't coming from.
Yeah, for me, the Miliband run will always be exemplified by the mugs, like the tough on immigration mugs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Madness, like they were so proud of it. I think that's the bit that really gets me. They were just like, they really thought that was going to be the thing that was going to cinch them the victory. Like,
and you know, like that, I'm sure they were thinking of like Blair's tough on crime, causes of crime, and wild for it. Like,
yeah, just trying to appeal to like angry boomer dads, but that's not. It's not gonna work. We've seen that.
out Tory the Tories.
You can't out Tory the Tories. Unless,
Even when you're proposing absolutely heinous shit, they just won't believe you.
yeah. And like, if you're gonna out Tory the Tories, you gotta do it UKIP style.
Yeah.
Honestly, UKIP has fucked with the Tories more than Labour has, at least before Corbyn, for a long time. It's honestly,
Yeah, they were definitely more afraid of UKIP than they were of Labour at that point in
yeah,
time.
because they knew how to out Tory the Tories. You just double down on like the racist bit that normally gets said quietly. You just say it really loud.
Yeah,
That's how you get
and
the boomer dads.
all of their promotional stuff as well was like, obviously Nigel Farage doesn't believe this, but
Yeah.
it was all like, we're going to spend on the NHS, we're going to reinvest in our public services, we're going to, it was all of this like appealing to people's basic desire for socialism.
Yeah, and well, they were in an incredibly powerful position because they were never going to win. They were never going to be in government.
Exactly.
And they, as a party, didn't need to exist long term. They needed to exist long enough to get that referendum. So they could say whatever the fuck they wanted. They could promise anything.
Yeah,
It doesn't
just
matter.
like the Lib Dems.
Yeah, just like the Lib Dems. You can.
Exactly.
They got a little more ambitious than the Lib Dems, at least. Yeah.
And now Nigel Farage is like, do we really trust the government to provide healthcare?
Yeah, of course. He's back on. That's his next grift. Maybe he'll do a private healthcare party and see if he can do the same thing again. Although I guess that's just the Tories at that point. Who's the leader of the Lib Dems now?
I don't know, irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't know either. I love them. I hope that they never lose their last seat. They'll be down to one seat soon, but I hope that they never lose it. So that they'll always just like be there, being like, the Britain wants sensible centrist politics. Just as they like get smaller and smaller and turn into a corn cob.
It is so funny how they're like defined by this. They're defined so much by their like relationship with other parties. So like when Labour was in power, the Lib Dems, like what they were saying at least, because they weren't in power and they couldn't really hope to be, and obviously it was like Blairite Labour, was genuinely like more progressive than Labour.
Yeah, that's they got loads of like young people behind them before they fucked them all on tuition.
Yeah. Absolutely horrific. And also like, Vince Cable was like shitting on Sky at every opportunity.
Right.
Murdoch and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, our horrible Labour MP Neil Coyle, because he's like the safe seat here, and
Right.
the Lib Dem candidate running is like a councillor, and this was her first attempt at running for MP. She was genuinely like seemed loads better. Like Labour here is leading the gentrification that's happening. This is a Labour borough, so all of those decisions are going through them. So the Lib Dem, as an opposition trying to offer something different to that, was at least signalling in January about that. But who knows?
It's incredible how much Labour suffers from just like dog shit local governments like that. Like so many people just have like endless horror stories about their shitty like Labour council and stuff.
Yeah, because the reality is decades of neoliberal governance, no matter who's been doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta head off.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna end the stream soon anyway. So if you wanna go to your business, and I'll close things off. But thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you, Nat?
Thank you for having me on. I am. That's my Twitter handle on the screen right now. At Snornat. I also I work on Eric's channel Curio, so I do like editing. That's what I'm up to. Twitter, nothing else.
Hell yeah. Watch the Curio videos. They're good. And join a fucking tenants union.
Yeah, go fucking do it. Like, I had no experience and I know nothing. Just go find something. They'll tell you what to do. Get started. You'll find lots of exciting things to do.
That's
and
right.
It's genuinely like so motivating and empowering to get started and like that, and know that these are the people who have your back.
I know it's an amazing. It's just doing it makes you feel like you can continue to do it, right?
Yeah, it really does. It's really amazing.
Hell yeah. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about some of your experiences and just talking shit about British politics. I never get tired of it.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Of course. Have a good one. All right. Let's look in the chat. As an American, I'll be put to death if I'm found out learning about another country, so just know I'm risking a lot being here. I respect your sacrifice, Reese, and I will lead the vigil for your martyrdom when you are inevitably found out. They'll blame Corbyn retroactively when they implode like a dying fart. I think that's going to be their game plan, man. I think that they're going to just blame Corbyn for fucking everything that goes wrong with the party for the next, like, 20 years. Fuck the Labour Party. I've gone on about that enough, but, you know. Yeah, join a tenants union. I just want to eat Obama. As an American, it's my right. It is your right, especially because he's outlawing flavored dips. I miss the flavored dip warrior who was really mad about Obama. I miss the simpler times. Make right-wing conspiracy theories fun again. When everyone wasn't a Nazi yet, so everyone was just like, Obama's gonna ban my dips. That's what I'm nostalgic for. Dip guy. Alrighty, well, it is 10, so that is a sure sign that I should figure out some dinner. Remember when the worst thing to worry about was when Obama got the Chaos Emeralds? I'm still a little bit worried about that. Live right down the street from Comet Pizza. Oh, shit. Fox once went after Obama for using a certain mustard. I remember that shit. No, that was... I mean, listen, that was, like, ridiculous and outrageous, but also, it was fun. Oh, well. Anyway, thanks, guys. Thank you for coming. And then thanks again to my guest, to Nat, for coming on. Give them a follow. Check out Curio's videos. Wear a tan suit like Obama. And join a fucking tenants union. Good night, everyone.